This is Rooney207. Welcome back. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about the Splinterlands, the hot wallet breach land, and ultimately they're all rolled up into the Splinterlands town hall earlier today at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I wanted to talk about the hot topics here. The particular one, the first one is addressed by PJ, who's the chief technology officer for Splinterlands, and he had talked about and touched based on the 6 million SPS and 8 million DEC that was lost, and these are attributed to the old bridge versus the new one. Um, and I think what's important is that the Splinterlands team, they went through a situation where they grew a lot and there were a lot happening at the time. And I'm sure they had to address growth, fire drill, layoffs, and then tech modernization, and then the new roadmap piece, which we're on the age of Minotaur currently. So they had a lot of things that happened and they were juggling a lot. So they didn't have a situation where they had strong internal controls. And part of the strong internal controls over the technology space or the ecosystem, they would have to implement solutions around monitoring, preventive, and detective controls around these wallets. And as you know, with crypto wallets, we don't have situations where many companies or on an individual level where you're using either a cold hardware wallet or the browser based wallet. You have a situation where you can't really implement a multi signature piece. And I think this is the one key area of the Hive wallet, and no one's really doing it at the larger level. So that no one's implementing a multi signature type of wallet structure. And I wish that. I think Hive is probably the best wallet out there. I'll probably do another video, a separate video on there. And I think where we get into a situation, so there were a lot of happening, and there were limited visibility, limited internal controls, and limited process that's been in place. And part of it is that the Splinterlands team, so the vulnerability, the bad actors, or the breach happened over third-party services. And as you know from the world of Web 2, and Web 3 is no different, it'll get worse as you have AI, you have bots, you have other programmatic technology that's stacking over this. So you have an accelerated pattern where you can really detect vulnerabilities, and you can really share data, and it could just go really fast. So situations like the HVAC attack from the third party, and typically it's really the third and the fourth party service providers that creates the highest risk and vulnerability to any company. Um, I think what's important is that the Splinterlands team considers strong internal control over their financial reporting structure, and also the strong internal controls over their technology stack. And one of it is to consider implementing things like a service organization type 2 control set from the AICPA around the security, the confidentiality, the availability, processing, integrity, and privacy of these information, and the financial records that goes to support these types of controls, and also to implement a proper vendor management structure that the Splinterlands team can roll to their and potentially encourage their third party vendors to assess similar types of control, or at minimum a small baby type of risk assessment structure that these third parties can request of the fourth party vendor depending on the size. So some of the companies that they're dealing with, they're relatively small. So if you imagine Splinterlands company on a whole, they're pretty small, and then you have deal with a smaller vendor, and then on top of that, their fourth party vendor there, it's even smaller. So you kind of have to take what you can from them, and to work with them to improve their vulnerabilities, their attack vectors, and some of the potential bad actors, and also to potentially share technology security systems in a way to either monitor, prevent, or detect these types of vulnerabilities. and creating these populations and the ability to randomly select from the population sample sets that would be able to reach over time a significant value that can further harden their enterprise. So that's really the crux of it. It's under $200,000 worth of loss, and it's already been drained. And so that's kind of some of the suggestion. If the Splinterlands team wanted my thoughts on it, that's one of the things I would recommend to them to implement. And then investigator talked about the small updates here. That's for tournaments and brawl notifications. And this one you can kind of get through the screen to disabling and things like that. The notification, tech modernization. They're moving that to the tech modernization, the other item page, which is good. I think it's a slow roll, but they'll eventually get all the modular components there. They're going to add LAN to sound to LAN. They're going to have general updates, like combining the display of the DEC SPS liquidity to kind of help. This is from a quality of life perspective too, not just an enhancement to one entry on the UI perspective. Remove references to card addition and place them with sets, which I think they had talked about. Hotfix in the games, issues with the set improperly on one account that it skipped playing on more than one season. The Secret of Praetoria from Farbertrod, the release of LAN 1.0, the most recent castle sold for 16,000. I think there's talks of castles potentially being sold or being asked to ask the sale price of like 35,000 or something like that. I'm not sure. And the gentleman that bought it for 16,000, I believe he's going to flip it. So there's we'll see how the price of it. And I think no one really took a financial enumerator number to kind of look at and see what's really a fair market value. And this goes for the keeps too. I think the keeps are a little bit expensive relative to their APR. Any of the keeps that are, I think, under maybe potentially even over $2,800. That's just kind of napkin math, but I haven't really looked at all the details. But I wouldn't pay more than $2,800 for a keeps right now. Let's see here. This is where Matt talked about some of the guilds, and I hope that over time they'll make more improvements to the guild structure, and I think it sounds like Matt doesn't really believe or the direction wise we should tokenize the guild and instead kind of have everyone get credit for burning their DEC, and they'll get component and they can carry that. I believe he had talked about 90% of their DEC burn contribution to that aspect of it, and then integrating guild. Maybe perhaps there's a way over time that a guild can be placed on a LAN itself, and it's kind of like their plan for the arena battle. So you can host a guild, and you can potentially get kind of earnings from your LAN play, or some of the architects around that piece. The validator node, Hardpoint is out on vacation. He'll be back, and it sounds like they're going to push for the June. So a lot of things will happen in June. The delegation, I believe, also Soulkeep will kick off as well. So I think June is going to be the exciting month. And then I think Weirdbeard had mentioned May 2nd, May 2nd as the promo card as well. So the promo card we don't really have a lot of information. It's going to be released soon. The only thing we know is it'll require vouchers and DEC component of it. And then the other piece that we've been waiting a while now is for the team's proposal to recommend selling Rift Watchers for DEC, and then I believe the DEC will be burnt as a process. The only downside is that the DAO will not receive that, and I think this kind of follows a similar mini sets, past mini sets. So I'm glad things are moving more towards DEC versus SPS, and I think ultimately DEC has to be pervasive within their ecosystem because it is the stable coin of choice for the game. So I'm glad we're gonna do that proposal. Let's see, DEC B to be used in the guild for the next couple of weeks. So I think a lot of guilds will be excited. The ones that have purchased, I believe my guild had purchased some as well. So we'll use that, our leadership team. Splinterlands promo card May 2nd. We had talked about that. Validators once Hardpoint comes back. Land mini set. So I think overall, we'll see how the cards, and I think Matt had mentioned that they're going to work with uh, the economics or the components to revisit both for castles and keeps to make sure that it makes sense. It's representative of what it is, and hopefully we'll get a better understanding around that piece of it. So all in all, this is what we have to date, and this is it. And thank you so much.